20 seconds counting down. Ball is knocked out of Jones's hands and still on the ground and then scooped up. That is Jordan Lewis. A flag is down as Lewis sprints the other way and scores the touchdown on the return. Fumble, scoop, score, Jordan Lewis.
It was set up by Doris Armstrong, number 92, coming around the corner. He gets his hand on the ball, then the effort to go after it, and then Lewis picks it up. That's 4 sacks on the night for this defensive line.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy HP, and you're listening to the Unsportsmanlike Conduct podcast, a podcast for the average Joe covering football and everything New York Giants. Episode 27 of the Unsportsmanlike Conduct podcast will cover the Week 9 home Monday night matchup between my beloved New York Giants and the division rival, the Dallas Cowboys. Before I do jump into my reactions and analysis of that Week 9 matchup, I want everyone right now to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and drop a comment on this video. Let's continue to grow this podcast. Now let's jump right into it. The New York Giants are 2-7. They have now lost 5 straight games, and their most recent game was against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night at MetLife Stadium. You know, the New York Giants played a pretty decent first half. I thought, there were some moments in the first half from both an offense and a defensive perspective where we made some good plays. We made some momentum-shifting plays. I thought, we were able to throw the Dallas Cowboys off of a rhythm, both from a defense and an offensive perspective. But at the end of the day, the story was the same. We weren't able to get stops, and we weren't able to generate enough points. And that's sort of been the story all year. The New York Giants ended up finishing with 18 points. We had about 6 red zone trips. We actually had 5 red zone trips. One of them ended up turning into a touchdown, which is that touchdown from Daniel Jones, which is sort of a lob on an out route to Cody Latimer towards the end of the end zone. And then the remaining of those possessions ended up in a field goal by Aldrick Rosas. So we ended up scoring 12 points in 5 red zone possessions. I mean, imagine if each of those possessions in the red zone had turned into touchdowns. You do the math. 5 times 6, we put up 30 points then. We put up 30 points. And you know what? When you score touchdowns are momentum-shifting plays. When you score a field goal, that's something that sort of the opposing team's defense can sort of hang their hat on. The fact that, the opposing offenses were able to drive down on us, but we stopped them and were able to force a field goal. That's what keeps the opposing teams in the game when you score 3 points instead of 6 points. But no, we weren't able to do that. We weren't able to take advantage of, in a couple of instances, good field position either. This New York Giants offense is just not good enough right now. And it's frustrating. And the reason why it's so frustrating is because we actually have some pretty solid pieces. We have one of the best running backs in the game in Saquon Barkley. We have good receivers. We have Darius Slayton. We have Golden Tate, who made a fantastic catch down the sideline to get us at the 1-yard line. We have Evan Ingram. And I know that Sterling Shepard was injured, but you know what? Every team doesn't have good receivers from, all over the depth chart. So we didn't need Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard's absence is not the reason why our offense isn't doing well. Sterling Shepard's absence is not the reason why we can't score points. Because yesterday we showed against a pretty good Dallas Cowboys defense that we can generate first downs and we can move the ball down the field. But when we get to the red zone, on 5 trips, we only got 1 touchdown. It's just inexcusable. I mean, Pat Shurmur is calling a lot of these sort of inside zones and a lot of these inside runs for Saquon Barkley, but when Saquon Barkley's strength is always to run up the sideline and on these stretch and sweep plays. Why weren't enough of those types of plays called? There was only one good big play from Saquon Barkley, and that was a 65-yard screen pass play, which came in the second half. Other than that, Saquon Barkley was contained. Our offensive line was unable to move the Dallas Cowboys front 7. We ended up generating no run game, and as a result, It was easy to defend Daniel Jones. It was easy to defend our pass game. Too often did we find ourselves in sort of in third and long distance situations. It's just frustrating to watch because we have the talent on this team. We spent so much money on our offensive line. We traded some of our best players away in other key positions for to rebuild the offensive line, and it's still not really showing that much more progress. Daniel Jones was still getting hurried. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the protection yesterday, believe it or not, was much more better in some of the other games, like the Minnesota game and the Arizona Cardinals game. But nevertheless, I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence had a field day against the New York Giants, which he always does. I mean, isn't it a bit frustrating to see the same opposing defenders just have a field day, especially their division rivals, just chew up every single game? I mean, I'm tired of seeing DeMarcus Lawrence pop up on my screen every time he faces the New York Giants. I'm tired of him having to hit my quarterback. In week 1, he kept hitting Eli Manning. In week 9, he ends up hitting the Daniel Jones. I'm tired of that. And for some reason, I mean, Pat Shurmur cannot call in-game adjustments to sort of move some of these protections around to avoid Daniel Jones of continuously getting hit. That is my problem with this coaching staff. This coaching staff, that includes Pat Shurmur, Mike Shula as the offensive coordinator, and I know Mike Shula is not calling the plays, but both of those guys are responsible for the offensive output, or lack thereof, rather. And then James Bettcher has got to... I'm actually going to get to James Bettcher, by the way, but James Bettcher, I mean, you have to make in-game adjustments. There is no excuse as to why we couldn't get a sack on Dak Prescott. Why we only had about, 3-4 quarterback hits on Dak Prescott. That's my issue with this coaching staff, is that they don't make in-game adjustments. And they want their players to adjust to their playbook and their offensive and defensive schemes rather than sort of recreating an offensive or defensive playbook and schemes and cater that to what their talent has. It's just unacceptable. And it's so hard to watch these football games. We have not improved since last year. We are a 2-win team. And just looking at the schedule, I don't think we win more than 4 games. And I want to apologize to everyone because before the season started, I had hyped up this whole team and I thought that we were going to be a 9-win team. I thought we were going to go 9-7. But here's where I think the next couple of wins come from. I think we win next week against the New York Jets. And then I think we win against the Miami Dolphins. Other than that, I don't see us winning another game the rest of the year. Maybe we win against the Redskins. So, we'll be a 5-win team. We'll sweep the Redskins in the division series because, surprisingly, that's a team that's worse than the New York Giants. And I love my New York Giants, but, I'm just so sick and tired of losing. And I'm so sick and tired of getting my hopes up and hyping this team up. Vouching for this team week in and week out against all my friends who are New York Giants haters. Against the people on Instagram who are New York Giants haters. And then they come out and then they let me down. And, for those of you who have continuously listened to my podcast, usually the format goes like this after every game. I start off with the offense, then I go talk about the defense, and then I end about my frustrations overall about the game. And I'm sorry that I'm all over the place with this episode, but I can't take it anymore. This is the first season I decided to start this podcast, and I really thought that this is going to be the year where we were going to have a competitive team, and I didn't think we were going to make it to the playoffs. But I didn't think that halfway through the season, we'd essentially be out of playoff contention. We've won 2 games. We are no better than we were last year. I mean, tell me, what have we gotten better at? Can we consistently run the ball well? No, I don't see that. Can we consistently get a pass rush? No, I don't see that either. Can we cover opposing wide receivers? No, we cannot. That is the same story from last year. Can we put up more than 21 points a game? No, we cannot. That is the same story as last year. This team has not improved over the last couple of years. The last time this team was competitive but still dealing with some of these same issues was when we went, what was it, 10-6 or 11-5 under Ben McAdoo's first year as a head coach? And even in that year, our defense was actually so stellar, but we were still unable to score more than 20 points a game, and we were still unable to run the ball, still unable to protect our quarterback, who was Eli Manning at the time. This team has not improved, and it's not Gelman's fault, because Gelman came in a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and said, you know what, let's rip up this team from the ground up and start all over again. So I don't want to put the blame on Gettleman because he has made some pretty good moves. But it's not translating on the field, and that goes down to the coaches and the players. And everyone and all these players, they like playing for Shurmur. For some reason, they're not giving up on Shurmur. But you know what? None of that matters. You can like a person, you can like your coach, you can like your boss. But if your production sucks, if your work sucks, then that means your boss or your coach isn't a good leader and doesn't have the right skill set to lead you to be productive. That's what's happening. Let's put this in perspective of a job. If you work somewhere and your boss is unable to lead you to complete an assignment the right way, but you like your boss and you like working for him, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your production sucks, and that's what the situation with this is. People like playing people love playing for Pat Shurmur. I've heard no sort of bad rumors coming out of that locker room. People like playing for Pat Shurmur, but he cannot generate wins. He was an offensive coordinator with Case Keenum as their quarterback in the Minnesota Vikings. They didn't have a star running back. I think it was Jaron McKinnon at the time. He had Adam Thielen. He also had Stephon Diggs, obviously, and they were a good offense. He came in as a head coach for the New York Giants, and the expectation was that we were going to be able to move the ball down the field and score points after points after points. But that's not even the case. You bench Eli Manning to give us a better shot with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has only won his 2 games. And granted, and look, there have been so many plays. Every single game, there's been at least one play where Daniel Jones keeps the play alive with his legs and either gets a first down by scrambling out of the pocket and finding another receiver open, or by simply just scrambling and getting a first down. And every time that happens, I take a step back and think, you know what, Eli Manning, there's no way Eli Manning would have been able to do that. So in that regard, does Daniel Jones give us a bit of a better chance? Keeps us a bit more competitive than Eli Manning? Probably. But has that made a difference? Eli Manning can win us 2 games. You're telling me right now that Eli Manning couldn't have won us 2 games? If you seriously think that we would have been 0-9 with Eli Manning at the quarterback position, then you're out of your damn mind. Now, in no way am I saying I want to go back to Eli Manning, or in no way am I saying that Daniel Jones should have never started. All I'm simply saying is we are not much better than last year. We are not a better team than last year. And everyone thought we would be with Daniel Jones. People were crucifying a hero. People were crucifying Eli Manning, wanted him benched. And we have Daniel Jones, who has probably turned over the ball more by fumbling than Eli Manning has throwing interceptions within a 9-game period. Not even, because it's not like Daniel Jones played all 9 games. In 6 starts? How many games has he started? 6 starts? He's fumbled more times than the amount of games he's played. He's lost those fumbles more times than the amount of games he's played. But no, people want to say he's a rookie. He's a rookie. It's Daniel Jones. He's a rookie. He's getting his first NFL action. No. Fumbling and throwing interceptions are 2 different things. I can live with the interceptions. Those are rookie mistakes. Fumbling is not a rookie mistake. Fumbling is carelessness, the lack of awareness, the lack of attention to detail. That's what fumbling is. Because he's done it every single week. He's fumbled every single week, and he's lost a fumble every single week. And you know what? For those guys who are going to nitpick and end up commenting on this saying, hey, you're out of your mind because in this matchup he actually didn't fumble or lose a fumble, go kick rocks, okay? I don't give a damn if you want to nitpick about the one game that I'm wrong about. That's how it looks. Perception is reality. He fumbles almost every single game. And you know what? Maybe that's not Daniel Jones' fault, but that certainly got to be a coaching staff fault. Why isn't the coaching staff helping Daniel Jones protect the ball? Where's his pocket awareness? It's not like he's never played football before. He's gotten killed behind a poor offensive line at Duke University. Again, interceptions, you throw a bad interception, that is a rookie mistake. Because at the end of the day, it's how is this rookie seeing the football field? Is he misreading defensive assignments? Is he misreading coverages? Does he not understand the route trees or the or the route progressions? Maybe those are the reasons why a rookie will throw an interception. But fumbles is not excusable. Fumbling the football as many times as Daniel Jones has does not equate to him being a rookie. It equates to him being careless and unaware of the circumstances and the situations. This offense sucks. And it's a shame because we have a great running back and now a pretty decent offensive line. But so often we weren't able to score more than 21 points. And when you give up more than 21 points, that's going to be an issue. Because it's tit for tat. That's how it goes. In this league, everyone who can score points ends up winning a game. The Kansas City Chiefs have shown it. They've shown that they don't need to play defense to win football games. And I know that their defense is the reason why they didn't win a championship last year. I understand that defense wins championships. But how often do you see a defensive dominant team win a championship where their offense can't score any points? Very rarely do you see that. And I want to talk about this offense now. I want to get into a couple of drives. There were 2 drives, back-to-back kick returns. Cody Latimer puts us around between the 40 to 50-yard line. And in both instances, the New York Giants are unable to convert good field position into touchdowns. Inexcusable. Where was Darius Slayton all game? Why couldn't we find Darius Slayton in space? Why couldn't they feed Evan Ingram in space? We need yards after the catch. Golden Tate is one of those guys. Where was Golden Tate, and why couldn't he produce yards after the catch? That was my expectation when Golden Tate got here, and he's barely been able to do that on a consistent basis. Golden Tate is a possession receiver. He can run these short routes. It's a West Coast offense. That's why you have the personnel the way the personnel is there. You have Golden Tate and Evan Ingram, who can obviously move from sideline to sideline, catch a ball, and get you another 5 to 10 yards after the catch. And we didn't see that yesterday. Where was Saquon Barkley lined up? Why couldn't we find him as a receiver? If he's not getting going as a running back, find other ways to keep him warmed up, to keep him hot, and to keep his confidence level up. Why couldn't he line up as a slot receiver? Create a mismatch against a safety. Even a DB. Who's going to bring that guy down? That guy could run a simple drag route. Who's possibly going to bring him down? And imagine running a drag route with Saquon Barkley from the slot. You see some linebackers commit on that, and then you have middle of the field wide open for a Golden Tate crosser, or maybe a seam route by Evan Ingram. If I can come up with this stuff, and I'm thinking out loud, I don't have notes when I do my podcast. If I'm thinking about this shit out loud, why can't Pat Shurmur think of this stuff and draw this stuff up? And I want to talk about the interception by Antoine Bethea, because obviously, when you can get an interception, anytime you can get an interception, that's obviously a great play. But Antoine Bethea was just sitting in the box. He was standing there. It's not like Antoine Bethea made an amazing read and play. Dak Prescott just threw it right to him. And right there where we get an interception, that was the first drive of the game. And the Giants got the football on an interception and converted it to 3 points instead of a touchdown in what was an amazing field position. The ball was at the 11, 12-yard line. That's where the Dallas Cowboys started their offense. One of the first passes by Dak Prescott ends up being an interception. And you can't convert that to 7 points? That's Pat Shurmur not understanding how to convert plays when you're in the red zone. I mean, what the hell do they practice in practice? If you can't score points when you're right there, when you can see the end zone, when the end zone's so close, when you can smell the pylon, how are you not able to generate plays that will get you into the end zone? I'm frustrated, man. I'm just frustrated. This episode is more of my reactions to the game than it is an analysis, and I'm sorry, guys, but I'm just tired of this. Even that Jabril Peppers fumble on Amari Cooper right after the catch, Jabril Peppers aims in, causes a fumble right after Amari Cooper catches the ball. We're still in good field position, and it just I don't understand. Pat Shurmur, I'm sorry, but if it doesn't get any better this season, Pat Shurmur's got to go. I don't see how he can stay as the head coach for the New York Giants if this team doesn't get better. And you know who's available as a head coach out there right now? Mike McCarthy, former head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Why not give him a shot? Why not just sort of rip off the coaching staff and bring in a whole new sort of group of coaches? Let's bring in a whole new head coach, new offensive coordinator, and a new defensive coordinator. And the reason why we should bring in a new head coach and new offensive coordinator right away is because Daniel Jones is a young quarterback. And I think it's very important that we sort of find our head coach now who is willing to coach up Daniel Jones. Because remember, there were rumors right after the draft that Pat Shermer didn't necessarily want Daniel Jones. He wasn't crazy about Daniel Jones. Maybe we go out, find the right coach, and that's when we can start the reign of Daniel Jones the right way. Now on to this poor excuse of our defense. And a horrendous defensive coordinator, James Bettcher, who was the former defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. James Bettcher on the Arizona Cardinals was known for being very creative with his pass rushing abilities, his pass rushing play calls, and then ultimately, as a result, creating a lot of turnovers. They even scored. Their defense was able to put up points, recover fumbles, and get interceptions for touchdowns. That has not been the story for the New York Giants because for 2 straight years, we haven't been able to consistently get a pass rush on opposing teams' quarterbacks. And look, for about maybe the first 4, 5, 6 games, we did a pretty decent job of getting to the quarterback. But for the most part, we haven't. We can't get to the quarterback enough. We don't generate enough turnovers. Our DBs are getting shredded out there. DeAndre Baker just came out saying that he needs to do a better job of being sort of aware and acknowledging the plays, the playbook, and the defensive schemes. DeAndre Baker has essentially admitted that he's having a hard time grasping the defensive scheme. James Bettcher, if you hear that, that's not an issue on DeAndre Baker's part, but that has to be an issue on the coaching staff. You have a young kid coming right out of college, and he's struggling to understand your defense. And that's why he's giving a big play after big play after big play. Now, is that an issue on DeAndre Baker, or is that an issue on the scheme and the playbook? It's game 9. It's week 9, and you don't think that you need to make DeAndre Baker's life easier? It's week 9, and we finally see Corey Ballantyne? It's week 9, and I still don't know where the hell Julian Love is? But no, I guess we have a better chance with playing Antoine Bethea, who is slow as hell and can't defend anyone. And as a result, always has to play close to the box. Why was he at the end of every single first down run play by Ezekiel Elliott? Unbelievable. We generated no pass rush, had so many soft coverages, and that's why we kept giving up first down after first down, both from a passing perspective and a running perspective. Ezekiel Elliott almost ran for 100 yards in the first half. I mean, for crying out loud, we gave up 172 rushing yards. 139 of those came from one person. That was Ezekiel Elliott on 23 carries, averaging 6 yards per carry. So that means after every carry, it either resulted in a first down or they were 4 yards away from getting a first down. Tony Pollard, the rookie, 3 carries for 21 yards, 7 yards per carry. Dak Prescott ran for 12. I mean, that's fine because usually a quarterback, he's able to sort of get out of the pocket, away from the defense, and away from the front 7 and the coverages, and able to sort of muster up a couple of yards. So I'm not too crazy about the 12 yards ran by Dak. But 139 yards from one player? And then let's go to the receiving. Amari Cooper, four receptions, 80 yards on a dagger. A crossing route under soft coverage was wide open in the middle of the field. No one was to be found. Where the heck was our safety? Amari Cooper catches the ball, I believe it was in the fourth quarter, to put the game out of reach. And I believe that's where the game was ended. It was actually 30-18. Poor tackling efforts by the New York Giants, especially Janoris Jenkins. And where was the pass rush? Because on that play, Dak Prescott had time to throw. And you know what the crazy thing about that play was? I believe it was a 3rd and 12? 3rd and 13 situation. And instead of dialing up a blitz, You call a soft coverage? I mean, when you're third and long, that is when you take chances. Send in an extra couple of men in there. Why aren't we dialing up enough blitz packages? I am sick and tired of quarterbacks having all day to throw against us. Our best pass rusher, Marcus Golden, only has 5.5 sacks. And he hasn't played all that well the last couple of games. He's been actually contained the last couple of games. Of course, with Blake Jarwin goes for a 42-yard touchdown, which I believe was one of their first touchdowns of the game. It's just first down after first down, all these big plays. It's hard to watch. Dak Prescott went 22 of 35. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And again, that interception that Dak Prescott threw, it was a lucky play. Antoine Bethea didn't do anything spectacular. The defense didn't do anything spectacular. It was on a slant route to Michael Gallup, and Antoine Bethea just so happened to decide to stay in the box. And you know what my biggest question on that play is? Antoine Bethea was sitting there as if it was, I don't know if maybe it was a spy, but it's not like Dak Prescott's known to scramble a lot. Dak Prescott's not a scrambler, so my question to you, Antoine Bethea, is if you see Dak Prescott there, what were you doing there standing in the box? Why not go hit the hole? It was the B gap that was wide open for you to just sort of hit and get a hit on Dak Prescott. And that was some tight coverage on DeAndre Baker, because I think DeAndre Baker was covering Michael Gallup. So even if the ball was able to go past Antoine Bethea, I think DeAndre Baker makes a play on that. I don't understand. And a lot of people, there are people that think that the New York Giants did a pretty decent job of containing the Dallas Cowboys in the first half. I would disagree. I think we caught a couple of breaks from some penalties. There was that one instance where Dak Prescott muffled the snap, and then Lorenzo Carter got back there and was able to tackle him. I believe it was Lorenzo Carter was able to sort of tackle him after Dak Prescott wasn't able to handle the snap. That ended up resulting in these 2nd or 3rd and 15, and after that, I mean, obviously, when you're 15 yards away from the first down, it becomes much more easier to defend. Once again, Amari Cooper has a big game. Once again, I mean, did that touchdown to Michael Gallup on the flats? Michael Gallup didn't run a route. He was just standing there. And, of course, DeAndre Baker is so far off from where Michael Gallup is. DeAndre Baker's poor attempt to jump and maybe tip the ball, which was so off, and it was an easy walk into the end zone, leaps over on, once again, poor tackling attempts for a touchdown. I remember watching the first half, and I thought, wow, this game is much more closer than it should be. But we're giving up so many rushing yards. I believe we gave up about 80 rushing yards to Ezekiel Elliott. I could be wrong on that. But I remember Ezekiel Elliott was a one-man show, controlling the pace of the game, and getting first down after first down by himself. And these were tough runs. These weren't, sweet plays up the sideline where there were no defenders to be found. Ezekiel Elliott is a hard runner, and he was running up the gut. He was running between the tackles. And that's a result of, obviously, the Cowboys have a great offensive line. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott's one of the best running backs in the game. But when a running back is able to destroy your interior lineman, even with the addition of Leonard Williams, that means we don't have linebackers. And that is the weakest position in our group. But now this is where sort of it's weird, because I'm already thinking about the draft, and I sort of sit back and say, do we need a linebacker? Do we need a pass rusher? Or maybe do we need another DB? Because we're certainly not going to keep Janoris Jenkins any longer. And maybe DeAndre Baker isn't going to be a good DB. I mean, who knows? So do we draft another cornerback? Do we draft a safety? Do we draft a linebacker? Or do we draft a pass rusher? We need a middle linebacker to lead that front seven, and we don't have one. We need a pass rusher that's going to consistently get to the backfield. We don't have one. We need a DB that the QBs are going to be afraid to throw to. Essentially take away one side of the field. We don't have one. We don't have a rangy safety. We don't have a ball hawk safety. What do we do on the defensive side of the ball in this coming draft? James Bettcher, your defense in the 9 games has given up more than 21 points in each of the 9 games. In the 9 games that we've played, there's only been 1 game where we gave up less than double digits, and that was against the horrible Washington Redskins offense. Other than that, we've given up more than 21 points in each game. And if you just give me a second, because I actually want to give you a little bit more of the details. Because when I'm pissed, I bring out the actual details and the actual facts. Week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, we gave up 35 points. Week 2 against the Buffalo Bills, who don't even have that great of an offense, we give up 28 points. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers give up 31 points. Washington Redskins, that's where we only gave up 3 points. But then after that, against the Minnesota Vikings, we gave up 28. Against the New England Patriots, we gave up 35. Against the Arizona Cardinals, we gave up 27. Against the Detroit Lions, we give up 31. And then again, against the Dallas Cowboys, we give up 37 points. And I understand that not all those points in all those games were a result of the opposing team's offense, but rather Daniel Jones' typical interception or fumble. But nevertheless, actually, I'm going to count how many times we gave up 30 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. In 5 out of 9 games, we've given up 30 or more points. James Bettcher, you are not suited to be a defensive coordinator for this New York Giants football team. And I hate to say it, but you got to go. Your time is up. You have to be fired. My expectation coming into this year is that we were going to be a top 15 defense. In the lower end of that spectrum, but a top 15 defense, we are one of the worst defenses in the NFL. You do not deserve to be a defensive coordinator for this team any longer. Your time is up, my friend. You can stay the season because it is a lost season, but you got to go. You have lost all respect for me. There hasn't been not one game this year or even last year where I can sit back and say James Bettcher called a hell of a game. You suck, Bettcher. You got to go. Dave Gettleman's either got to find a new defensive coordinator or entirely replace this coaching staff. Let's bring in Mike McCarthy. Let's let Mike McCarthy decide who he wants to bring as the defensive coordinator. And that's essentially my rant about the defense. They don't deserve any more Mike time from me. And I want to talk about some other things, something really, really important. I want to talk about Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard once again was out due to a concussion that he sort of suffered several weeks ago. He's not clearing the concussion protocol, and a lot of people are afraid that this might be his last year of football. People think he may need to consider hanging it up. I think if Shepard can play, then he's got to go for it. Look, I think at any point in any NFL player's career, you can get hit once, and that'll be your career. Whether that's through a concussion or through any other injury. That can be your livelihood. I think if Sterling Shepard really believes that he can play and that the New York Giants, believe that he can play and he, obviously accurately follows the rules and clears the concussion protocol, I think you give it another shot. But it'll obviously be sad and obviously disheartening to lose a player like that, but obviously someone who we've had high hopes for. And then just overall, you never want to see a player, retire from the NFL or any other sport due to health reasons, especially so early and so young in their prime of their careers. So obviously just want to send my condolences out to Sterling Shepard. I actually ran into Sterling Shepard a couple of years ago in Midtown Manhattan. I was waiting for the bus heading home from work, and I saw him pull up in his Mercedes. He ended up coming out of his Mercedes truck. He was across the street. And I noticed it was Sterling Shepard. I ran across the street, and he was so kind to sort of stop and shake my hand and greet me when I yelled his name out. So, just wanted to say that. But, just hopefully he heals up quick, whether he plays for us or not. Sterling Shepard, you'll always be a New York Giant, and just wanted to sort of give that quick 2 cents out there. And now moving on to the New York Jets. Next Sunday, we will be playing the New York Jets in a Week 10 matchup, obviously inter-city matchup. I think that's probably going to be a lackluster game. Both teams suck. Both defenses suck. Both offenses suck. But I think we're just a little bit better than the New York Jets. So I do have us winning that game and getting us back in the winning column. But now, I'm in an interesting situation because I have a bye-week problem in my fantasy football team. DJ Chark, who has been my sort of constant set and forget it player in my flex, is on a bye week. I have Adam Thielen, who's suffering a hamstring injury, who I can't start either. So now I'm forced to start Robbie Anderson. This is going to be a situation where I'm thinking, okay, look, the New York Giants have nothing to play for anymore. Maybe I start Robbie Anderson, and hopefully he has a couple of big plays, gets me a touchdown, and keeps my winning streak alive. I'm currently on a 2-game winning streak in that league, and hopefully we can turn it into 3 games. Because if I win, and the person who's first place loses, I may potentially get to first place. Currently, I'm 6-3, and the first place in my fantasy league is 7-2. So if that guy loses and I end up winning, we'll be tied for first. But I think I'm leading my league in points scored. So I think I'll end up having the edge over that. So, hopefully Robbie Anderson has a big week against the New York Giants, but we're still able to win that game at the same time. But, folks, that's about it. That wraps up episode 27. Everyone, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video and drop your comments on this video. I appreciate you guys. We're back in business. Episode 27 is done. Peace out. It's your boy HP.